This show is part of One Place, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to the program. We have a packed episode today covering everything from major federal court rulings to surprising new medical discoveries that could change how you think about your daily health.
A federal judge blocks Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s vaccine changes.
New research finds cannabis fails to treat anxiety or depression.
The Shingles vaccine may cut heart attack risk in half.
Engineered probiotic bacteria are being used to hunt down tumors.
Forever, chemicals are linked to weaker bones in developing children.
Nighttime wakefulness is tied to slower brain function in seniors.
Aging men are losing Y chromosomes, increasing their disease risk.
A meningitis outbreak in Kent triggers a massive antibiotic response.
Happiness predicts a longer life even in more restrained cultures.
Certain narcissistic traits might actually protect your mental well-being.
Starting with the courts.
A federal judge in Massachusetts has issued a significant ruling that temporarily halts major changes to national vaccine policy. These changes were spearheaded by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. since he took office. Specifically, the ruling pauses the restructuring of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices and suspends the overhaul of the childhood vaccine schedule. That overhaul had notably reduced the number of recommended routine vaccinations for children from 17 down to just 11. Public health advocates and medical organizations, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, are applauding this judicial intervention as a necessary safeguard.
The judge's decision suggests that the Department of Health and Human Services likely failed to follow established legal and scientific processes when implementing these shifts. By labeling the changes as potentially arbitrary and capricious, the court has effectively returned the vaccine schedule to its pre-June 2025 status, while the legal battle continues. This also means the new committee members appointed by Kennedy cannot serve for now, leaving the panel inactive. While this pause is a relief to many epidemiologists, there is a growing concern that this legal back and forth could further erode public trust in scientific institutions among hesitant families.
Next up,
a massive new study published in The Lancet is challenging the widespread belief that cannabis is an effective treatment for mental health issues. Researchers from the University of Sydney conducted the largest review to date, finding no evidence that medicinal cannabis helps with anxiety, depression, or PTSD. This is particularly striking because roughly half of the people who use cannabis medically report doing so specifically to manage these conditions. The lead author warned that routine use might actually be doing more harm than good, potentially increasing the risk of psychosis and addiction while delaying more proven effective medical treatments for patients.
While the news is discouraging for those seeking relief from depression, the study did find some very limited evidence for other conditions. There were slight indications of benefit for insomnia, autism, and Tourette's syndrome, but the researchers emphasized that the quality of this evidence remains quite low. In most cases, the use of medicinal cannabis for these issues is rarely justified without robust counseling or medical support. For now, the proven benefits of cannabinoids seem mostly restricted to specific health conditions like severe epilepsy or spasticity in multiple sclerosis, rather than the broad mental health applications many users currently assume. Now let's shift to...
In a surprising twist for preventative medicine, the common shingles vaccine appears to be a powerful protector for the heart. A new study presented at the American College of Cardiology's annual scientific session found that high-risk adults who received the vaccine saw a 46% reduction in major cardiac events. Even more impressive was a 66% drop in deaths within just 1 year of vaccination. This research involved over 200,000 adults with existing heart disease, suggesting that the protective effects of the shingles shot might be even greater for those who are already vulnerable to heart attacks and strokes.
Scientists believe this benefit comes from preventing the shingles virus from triggering dangerous blood clots. We know that shingles infections can cause inflammation and clotting near the brain and heart, which often leads to cardiovascular emergencies. By stopping the virus from reactivating, the vaccine essentially removes a major trigger for these events. The impact is so significant that researchers are comparing it to the health benefits of quitting smoking. This adds to a growing list of secondary benefits for the shingles vaccine, which has also been linked in other recent studies to a reduced risk of developing dementia in older populations.
Moving on to cancer.
researchers have made a fascinating breakthrough by turning common probiotic bacteria into tumor-hunting machines. Using a specific strain of E. coli, known as Nissl 1917, scientists at Shandong University engineered the microbes to carry and release a potent anti-cancer drug called romidepsin. In mouse models of breast cancer, these modified bacteria were able to successfully navigate through the body, accumulate inside the tumors, and deliver the medication exactly where it was needed most. This targeted approach is a major step forward because it could potentially make cancer treatments much more effective while significantly reducing the toxic side effects often associated with systemic chemotherapy.
While the results in mice are incredibly promising, the team notes that there is still a long road ahead before this can be tested in humans. One of the biggest challenges will be ensuring that the bacteria can be safely removed from the body once the treatment is complete. Future studies will also need to look closely at any potential long-term side effects of having engineered microbes living within the tissue. However, the idea of using our own internal microbiome as a delivery system for life-saving drugs is a powerful new strategy that could eventually change the landscape of oncology and personalized medicine.
Next, consider this.
New research is highlighting a hidden danger for children's long-term health: exposure to forever chemicals, or PFAS. These man-made substances are found in everything from drinking water to food packaging and do not break down easily in the environment. A study published in the Journal of the Endocrine Society tracked over 200 adolescents and found that early life exposure to these chemicals is linked to lower bone density during the teenage years. This is particularly concerning because adolescence is the critical window for building strong bones. If children don't achieve optimal bone mass now, they face a much higher risk of fractures and osteoporosis later in life.
The study found that the timing of exposure matters immensely, with certain developmental stages being more sensitive to chemical interference than others. Interestingly, the link between PFAS levels and lower bone density was notably stronger in girls than in boys. Specifically, higher levels of PFOA in the blood were associated with weaker bones in the forearm. These findings suggest that reducing environmental exposure during childhood isn't just about immediate safety. It's about protecting the skeletal integrity of the next generation. As these chemicals continue to build up in our bodies, understanding these developmental windows becomes essential for public health policy and parental awareness.
Turning to sleep.
For older adults, it turns out that how well you sleep is far more important for your brain than how long you sleep. An analysis of the Einstein aging study revealed that frequent nighttime awakenings are directly linked to slower processing speeds and worse memory the following day. Researchers found that when participants spent more time awake during the night, their ability to process information and bind visual memories suffered significantly. This suggests that sleep fragmentation, rather than just total hours in bed, is a key driver of daily cognitive fluctuations. Even one night of poor quality sleep can lead to a noticeable dip in mental sharpness for seniors.
The study focused on community-rising adults over the age of 70 who did not have dementia. By using objective measures of sleep quality, like sleep efficiency and wakefulness after sleep onset, the authors were able to show a clear short-term association between restless nights and cognitive performance. This reinforces the idea that sleep is a period of essential repair and organization for the brain. For those looking to maintain their cognitive health as they age, focusing on continuity and reducing nighttime disruptions might be more beneficial than simply trying to extend the time they spend in bed, which can sometimes lead to more fragmented rest.
Now to genetics.
A biological phenomenon known as the loss of the Y chromosome is emerging as a major health threat for aging men. While scientists once thought the Y chromosome was mostly just for male development, new research shows its disappearance in blood cells is linked to heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's. This loss is surprisingly common, affecting about 40% of men in their 60s and over half of men by age 90. Environmental factors like smoking can accelerate this process. When cells lose the Y chromosome, they often grow faster than healthy cells, which can disrupt normal body functions and potentially drive the progression of age-related diseases.
The Y chromosome is particularly vulnerable during cell division, where it can be accidentally left behind and discarded. This creates a state called mosaicism, where a man has a mix of cells with and without the chromosome. Because the Y chromosome contains genes that regulate various cellular processes beyond sex determination, its absence can have a ripple effect across the entire body. What was once dismissed as a minor genetic quirk is now being viewed as a significant driver of why men often have shorter lifespans than women. Understanding this genetic loss could eventually lead to new ways of screening for and treating chronic illnesses in men.
In the UK,
a devastating bacterial meningitis outbreak in Kent has put health officials on high alert after affecting 29 people and claiming 2 lives. The outbreak has been traced back to a superspreader event at a nightclub in Canterbury earlier this month. Because the incubation period for meningitis can last up to 10 days, authorities are still closely monitoring for new cases. In a massive public health response, roughly 10,000 people have been given preventative antibiotics to clear the bacteria and stop further spread. While the number of new cases seems to be slowing down, the speed and scale of this particular cluster have been described by experts as unprecedented.
The situation has raised urgent questions about whether all teenagers should be routinely vaccinated against this specific strain. Meningitis is notoriously fast-moving. A person can go from being perfectly healthy to requiring intensive care in less than 24 hours as the bacteria invade the brain's lining. There is also a concern that students who left the area to go home might unknowingly carry the bacteria in their noses, potentially spreading it to other parts of the country. While the tracing effort is extensive, the next few days will be critical in determining if the containment strategy has been successful or if the outbreak will expand beyond the Kent region.
Regarding happiness,
a new study from Japan confirms that happiness is a universal predictor of a longer life, even in cultures that value emotional restraint. Researchers followed over 3,000 adults in a rural Japanese town for 7 years and found that those who described themselves as unhappy had an 85% higher risk of death. This finding is significant because happiness in Japan is often defined by calmness and social harmony rather than the high-energy excitement typically studied in Western countries. Even after the researchers adjusted for factors like age, income, and existing physical health, the link between a positive outlook and longevity remained remarkably strong and consistent across the group.
The study also addressed the chicken or egg question of whether unhappiness causes poor health, or if poor health simply makes people unhappy. By excluding participants who died within the first year of the study, the researchers were able to show that the psychological state itself was a reliable predictor of future mortality. This suggests that the biological benefits of happiness, such as lower stress hormones and better immune function, apply regardless of how a culture defines or expresses that joy. It reinforces the idea that mental well-being is not just a luxury, but a fundamental component of physical health that can literally add years to your life.
Finally, today,
narcissism is usually seen as a purely negative trait, but new research suggests it's more complex than we thought. A review published in the Journal of Personality found that grandiose narcissism, which involves confidence and extraversion, is actually linked to higher self-esteem and better life satisfaction. This outgoing form of the trait can act as a psychological buffer against distress. In contrast, vulnerable narcissism, marked by deep insecurity and defensiveness, is strongly associated with anxiety and depression. By separating these two types, psychologists are beginning to understand why some self-centered individuals seem mentally tough, while others are prone to internalizing their struggles and withdrawing from social support systems.
This research utilizes a dual-factor model of mental health, which views well-being and distress as two separate dimensions. It shows that having a high degree of confidence, even if it borders on narcissism, can actively promote positive emotions and resilience. However, the core foundation of entitlement remains a shared feature of both types, which can still cause friction in social relationships. The goal of this study wasn't to praise narcissism, but to clarify how different personality structures impact a person's internal world. Understanding these nuances helps therapists better target treatments, focusing on the insecurity of the vulnerable type while recognizing the protective, albeit showy, nature of the grandiose type.
That wraps up our briefing for today. We hope these stories give you plenty to think about as you go through your day.
Be sure to follow us for your next daily update on the latest in health and science. Thanks for listening.